Ravenhill, the Kingspan, call it what you want. The place was bouncing tonight. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. Ulster were on the attack from the off in this one. Leinster's blitz defence early on, forcing them back. Leinster then start finding a bit of space, but you have a Keane Healy knock on. Ulster then kick the ball over the top. Ref, he calls play on. They had an advantage very briefly, but Osborne hesitates. He thinks we're coming back for the scrum, and then by the time he realizes that we're not and it's play on, his kick gets charged down. Then he and Lowry have a foot race to the ball. We have to have a TMO check to see who grounded it. Decided it was actually simultaneous grounding, which means a goal line dropout and a bit of a let off for Leinster there. Ulster then they come back forward again. Allison on the burst and in behind. He gives it to Cooney in space and he steps. I don't know why, but he stepped right into the Leinster defence. He had Stockdale out on the left. That pass goes. Stockdale is in to score, and it really is a big chance missed for Ulster. They then go again out to the right. Keenan with a fantastic covering tackle. Lowry, he manages to get up and go again and over. Referee, though, blows for a penalty. And first of all, the referee said that he was held in the tackle and he went again. But then we see first of all, the TMO check, we see in the replay that he does release the ball, but he doesn't get back to his feet. He's on his knees when he plays the ball again, so it's still a penalty. But a couple of let-offs for Leinster there. Cormac Foley then gets pinged for not using it in 5 seconds. I can't remember the last time I saw that given by anyone. It seems like, scrum halves get anywhere up to 10 seconds, for their 5 seconds, as it were. So well done actually to Piardi there. Even though it was given against Leinster, I like to see that he actually did it. I'd rather see referees giving that than not. Ulster then win the penalty at the scrum in the Leinster 22, kick to the corner. Then you're thinking, can they turn their massive pressure into points? Herring hits his man. They set up the maul. Some backs come in to help, and over they go. We get a TMO check. The on-field decision is try, and the try stands. Herring is the score. Is converted by Cooney for 7-0. Deserved lead now, and feel like they need to make sure they don't allow Leinster an easy response. Leinster's line out then misfires, and Herring, the ball lands to him at the back. He whacks it upfield, and Osborne, I felt, did well then to clear for Leinster. But it's Leinster who were the team under the pressure all the time. But pretty much out of nowhere, Leinster hit back. Will Connors charges down a Burns kick, finds Natai then, who shrugs off an attempt to tackle and goes over to score. He looked to have hurt his shoulder, as he went over. It looked like, one of his arms was kind of hanging limp, and he had to go off shortly after. Leinster ended up with, a completely rejigged backline after a few injuries. Harry Byrne then converts for 7-all. Ulster, another chance then. Addison breaks into 22, goes close, but he had two outside him, including Lowry out on the wing. And if the pass had gone, I think that was another try. And, as an Ulster fan, you must be worrying at that stage, are they leaving just too many points out there? But, they're getting good change out of that blitz defence now, using cross kicks. They're getting the ball wide early as well, and they're finding space that they weren't finding in the opening few minutes. But again, they are leaving so many points out there in the field. Leinster then showed them the way to the try line again. Conan with a great carry. Keenan then through a gap, and he finds Foley in support, who goes over to score. Byrne converts for 14-7. Leinster second best in pretty much everything except for the scoreboard at this stage. And, for most of the match as well, somehow they were leading, but they definitely weren't the better team. Ulster then applying more pressure. Connors with hands on the ground, and it's a very kickable penalty for Ulster. Cooney slots that for 14-10. And, I think the penalties were crucial at this stage for Ulster and just keeping them within touch. Leinster then lose Tommy O'Brien to injury, and on comes McGrath. Foley has to go out onto the wing. The half then peters out. They missed a number of scrum resets. Were 14-10 at the break. Ulster then into the second half, they're applying pressure and they win a penalty. Cooney reduces the gap to 1 point, 14-13. Leinster then win a scrum penalty, Tom O'Toole going down. They go up the line, but their attack misfires again. Addison puts in a great tackle on Jimmy O'Brien in the midst of that as well. Ulster again putting on more pressure, and Timney gets to a McGrath dink. Stockdale gathers it and he runs it back, but Connors, I thought, did very well to get over the ball and win the penalty. But you can see, even though Leinster is still leading, they're pretty much just firefighting from their point of view and not really offering too much in attack. They do then, though, up the pace a bit, and there's a little sense of a bit more fluidity from them. Nice passing move, but then Brownlee passes the ball straight into touch, and it's kind of a nice cameo of what the problem was with Leinster. Even when they find a little bit of quality, they can't sustain it for long enough. They compete in a line out, they manage to disrupt, and they get a line out for themselves. Off that line out, then they spread it and are probing for space. They work it up to that Ulster line. Hard meters from the forwards. Deegan and Ryan to the fore. Alatoa then finally gets over from close range to score. It's converted for 21 points to 13. And Leinster at this point, they're looking to take control and they're attacking the 22. And you feel like if they can get another score now, that's going to be the game. But Stockdale picks off a flat Harry Byrne pass and he just goes the end of the field. Nobody's catching him and brings Ulster back into contention. Cooney lands the conversion from out wide. That guy from the tee is just so accurate and so important for his team as well. Doak is very good as well, and they're very lucky really to have two such excellent number 9s that can kick from the tee so well. Now we're at a 1 point game again. It's 21 points to 20, but it feels like, again, Leinster, they need to find a score from somewhere, but they haven't had that kind of, settled period in possession where you felt like they were on top. And it's hard to see them, being able to do that again. But so Ulster really then just need to find a score themselves. Leinster, again, they try to up the pace. They begin to stretch the Ulster defence. You feel like they do just need to find a chink and they might be in again. They work it close to the line. Deegan goes for the corner, but Lowry forces him into touch. Great defence, but Leinster, I felt like maybe, they went wide when it was only Deegan out there, and I felt like, this is a much changed team, and, there's no excuses in that, but I felt that they weren't as patient as maybe, even the regular URC, not even the first team, the regular URC Leinster team probably would have decided, let's be a little more patient, let's go and feel a little bit and see what comes. But may not have gotten a score, but I felt like there was a little bit of panic in the whole thing of going wide when, Lowry did do really well defensively, but it was probably the wrong option for Leinster. Ulster then go over the top from a line out, but it's not straight. It's a 5 metre scrum for Leinster. They're getting more chances, and again, you think about a usual Leinster performance. If you give them chances, they're clinical, they're going to take it, but they're not doing it. Ferocious defence from Ulster just completely drives them back, as they try to attack from the scrum. Leinster end up outside of the 22 after being like 5 metres out from the line. Tom Stewart then, he's told a number of times, don't pick up the ball about 3 or 4 times from referee because it's sitting there at the back of the ruck. He does it anyway because that's just human nature, right? See the ball, nobody's there, I'm going to pick it up. But then he puts the ball back down just like, a naughty boy who's been caught with his hands in the cookie jar kind of thing. Just plops it back down, and obviously the penalty is given. But it was just a funny moment in the game. Leinster then kicked that to the corner. Stewart then redeems himself. He gets over the ball and he wins a penalty. And it was a huge turnover as well for his team because, again, you felt if Leinster could somehow, despite, all the problems they've had in this game, if they could somehow get over again, that would be it. That would be the game. Then Ulster looking to work their way back upfield. There's massive collisions all over the field. Huge intensity and physicality from both teams. McCann gets absolutely destroyed by, I don't know who it was from the Leinster point of view, but it was unlucky for him because he was basically already half tackled and he was facing the wrong way and he gets hit in the back. So there wasn't much he could do in that one, but it was just an indication of how much both teams are trying in this one. Leinster then, they managed to halt that Ulster momentum, so Ulster decided to go to width, but there's the pressures coming in from that blitz defence, and the pass out to McCluskey is forward, so we come back for a scrum to Leinster. Ulster though, after that, once Leinster kind of clear it, they keep coming, and Leinster at the moment are kind of keeping them around about halfway, but Leinster get pinged for not rolling away, and it's a penalty just inside that Leinster half. Ulster point to the post, and up steps Cooney. He lands the kick, and again, no better man really when you've got a kick to win the game from distance. And even though it was pretty straight, it's still a tough kick under that pressure. But yeah, he splits the post. 23-21, Ulster leading, less than 2 minutes on the clock. Ulster claim the restart. They run down the clock to get the ball off the pitch. 23-21. It's a great win for Ulster and absolutely deserved on the performance that they put in as well tonight. So we're going to have a look at the stats and then we will talk briefly about each team. So let me pull the stats up, and as I always say about URC and unfortunately Champions Cup stats is that they're not always completely accurate straight after the game, but we'll see how we go here. So tries seems to be right anyway, 2 for Ulster, 3 for Leinster. And again, if Leinster had gone in there towards the end where they were putting on pressure, they probably would have won the game, and it probably would have been a bonus point win, which would have put them in pole position for the final round of games, but didn't happen for them, and they didn't deserve it either. Possession 51% to Ulster, 49 for Leinster, so pretty even there. Clean breaks, Ulster coming out on top, 8-6, and I felt like Addison had a great game in terms of like creating breaks, and also Jacob Stockdale is looking back to the type of form that we saw him in when he kind of come on the scene first. And we saw Stockdale actually being picked like earlier on in the season. He wasn't in great form. He was kind of feeling his way back into the team after being out for a long time, and also having that kind of interruption of getting injured, coming back, getting injured again, etc. But he was getting picked in Ireland squads, and I wonder why is that? But now you can see on this form he definitely deserves to be in Ireland squads. Defenders beaten then, 10 for Ulster, 18 for Leinster. So it shows you there again, two things really in that, like Leinster with almost double the number of defenders beaten, but still less clean breaks than Ulster. So it tells you, first of all, Ulster scramble was really good, and also Leinster did not take advantage when they did beat those defenders either. Normally, if Leinster can do that, if they break the line, there's a good chance that there's going to be a score on the end of it, but it didn't happen for them tonight. Offloads, 8 for Ulster, 9 for Leinster. Onto defence then, territory, 55% to 45 for Ulster. I think the fact that Ulster could, for the most part, play more in Leinster's half as well, had gave them kind of a big advantage too, in terms of even when Leinster got in there maybe managed to turn over and started to attack. They had to build from their own half. Number of tackles then 163 to 159, so very even there. Missed tackles 18 for Ulster and 10 for Leinster. So tackle success 90% for Ulster is excellent. 94% for Leinster is just way higher than we expect them, because we normally expect, I've talked about this multiple times before, but we normally expect Leinster to be actually lower than the average of the other teams because of that reliance on, first of all, on the scramble, and also the fact that they've switched to this blitz defense as well, which has that built-in kind of possibility, or almost inevitability really, of having a lower tackle percentage. Turnovers 1 then, 8 for Ulster, 6 for Leinster. On to kicking then. Kicks retained, 2 for Ulster and 2 for Leinster. Very competitive in the air. So Ulster, in terms of the overall kicking game, were the smarter of the two teams. They looked to vary the game. Chips over the top, lots of high bombs, kicking crossfield as well to find that space on the edge of the blitz as well. So excellent from them. Penalties conceded then, 7 from Ulster and 5 for Leinster. So neither team really getting too much on the bad side of the referee. Onto players then. So we got, first of all, successful carries. Nick Timoney with 5. He had an excellent game. Harry Byrne with 6 for Leinster. Definitely not his best game for Leinster. A lot of kind of stray passes, including the intercept for Stockdale. Kicking wasn't that great either. Clean breaks then, Mike Lowry with 2 for Ulster. Another player that I'm really happy is back up there near his best. Tommy O'Brien with 1 for Leinster. I'm sure they got 6 clean breaks, so I guess there were 6 players all had 1. But Tommy O'Brien, he had to go off injured. He was one of the players there, and he's only recently back as well. Defenders beaten then, Izuku with 3. He looked excellent in that back row for Ulster tonight, and I thought all of Ulster's back row definitely outshone their Leinster counterparts. 3 for Ronan Kelleher. Not as 2 to 4 as we've seen him in the past. Meters made then, Jacob Stockdale, 100 meters is absolutely excellent from him. And again, just shows that all around play, he was brilliant tonight. For Leinster, Charlie Natai was 35 from him. But, I felt with Natai recently, he did get the try in the end, but he's been a bit hit and miss when he's played recently for Leinster. I don't think up to the standard we were used from him as well. Offloads then, 2 from Will Allison and 2 for Kelleher. Defence, number of tackles, 20 for Dave McCann, who had a brilliant game tonight as well. Jack Conan, in a losing team, I thought was a bit of a standout as well. 18 tackles from him. Turnovers 1. Michael Lowry at the top there with 2. He doesn't just make breaks. He turns the ball over as well. Will Connors, more kind of, with 2 as well. More kind of the one you would expect to be doing that. So then, let's briefly chat about the two teams. So let's start with my team, Leinster. First of all, very inaccurate. And, they still almost got out of jail with a win, but, the purple patch they had during the game just wasn't enough for them. And, often when Leinster lose these tight games, it's an inability to score kind of in that last quarter of the game that really does hamper them. And again, it happened tonight. They've now slipped to second in the table last week. Now they're down to 3rd. And, you're wondering now, are they going to make the same mistakes as last year in this final part of the season where, whatever they're doing with the management of their players and deciding that, yes, Leo Cullen said they were going to pick strong teams now for the remainder of the URC. This was not a strong team. And, I don't think you would find anyone who would argue against that. So has he changed his mind? Have they decided that the Champions Cup team now are going to be in cotton wool and they're not going to, we're hardly going to see them at all until that final. And that's what they did last year, and it didn't work for them. And the players look rusty, and they didn't have the match fitness of felt as well when the pressure come on towards the end of the game. And the same for these guys tonight as well. A lot of guys here who wouldn't necessarily be starters for Leinster, even when they, the internationals are away as well. So a lot of kind of questions to be asked about how they're managing the squad at this crucial part of the season. If they come up with 1 or 2 trophies out of it, they're going to be vindicated by it. If not, there's going to be questions asked about this approach and whether they, they should do it again in the future. But as I said before, those guys are professional coaches for a reason, and I'm just some idiot that talks about rugby on the internet. So don't take my word for anything. Okay, on to Ulster then. Absolutely great atmosphere in Ravenhill. Sorry, Ravenhill. What the hell is that? But I think Ulster players and fans absolutely deserve it. They were the better team for the majority of the game. And after such a torrid season as well, with all the upheaval, coach, CEO leaving, etc., it's just great to see them on the up again. As a Leinster fan, I wish it wasn't at our expense, but Ulster, they now sealed their top 8 spot and more than likely Champions Cup rugby as well for next season. So that's got to be, whatever happens from here out, an excellent end to the season for them.